You are making the world a better place by listening to the Joy of Living podcast. This is your guide to achieving a more purposeful, powerful, and positive life. Join Barry Shore in unlocking the best version of you and becoming happier, healthier, and wealthier. And now, here's your ambassador of joy, Barry Shore.
Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved, immortal beings, and good-looking people. Remember, you're good-looking because you're always looking for and finding the good, and you have found good in abundance today. You've tuned in consciously and conscientiously to the Joy of Living with your humble host, Barry Shore, and we are deeply honored because you are joining over 348,613 people around the world who have chosen to come and invest their time, the most precious possession, in learning about that which interests them the most. And that is you. Y-O-U. Yes, the show is called The Joy of Living, your humble host, Barry Shore. But the show is all about you becoming the best you, because when you're the best you make the world a better place. You build more bridges of harmony, create more joy, happiness, peace, and love. And you know that we work on this show with the three fundamentals of life. And when you use these three fundamentals of life throughout your life, you will be happier, healthier, and wealthier. I guarantee it, or your money back. So the three fundamentals of life, of course, are number one, your life has purpose. And when you live a purposeful life, number two happens. Now, in this case, a good number two. You go MAD. MAD is a wonderful acronym that stands for make a difference. You lead a purpose-driven life. You make a difference in life. And the result of that, number three, is to unlock the power and the secrets of everyday words and terms. Simple example, www. This beautiful podcast is being carried throughout the world over that magical, mystical platform called the internet. If you ask anybody, what does www stand for? Invariably, they say it has to do with the internet. And factually speaking, they're correct. But in our world, the world of the positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant, www stands for what a wonderful world. And what is a word, right? Well, of course, whenever you hear the opening bars of that song that Louis Armstrong Satchel made famous and touched not tens of millions or hundreds of millions, but billions of people on the planet here. What a wonderful world. What do you do right away? You smile. You can't help doing that. Now, smile is one of the most important words you could ever integrate, utilize, and leverage in your life, because smile is an acronym that stands for seeing miracles in life every day. Seeing miracles in life every day. Now, when I'm speaking to people, and thank God we're doing it in person these days, and I just spoke to a group, 1,187 people, and I'm talking about smile and the story of Barry Shore. And I have people raising their hands and say, hey, Barry Shore, I've been up for hours. I haven't seen any miracles. And I asked them, are you here? Can you hear? Can you stand still? I can't do that. Can you walk? I can barely do that. Do you have water to drink? Do you have food to eat? Do you have a place to sleep? Do you have family? Do you have friends? Every single one of those is a miracle. Now, what's a simple proof? Simple as proof. 1 million people didn't get out of bed this morning. You know why? They died. By definition, if you're watching or listening to this, you didn't. You have an obligation to live life to the full. So let me give you a quick story. Imagine the following. Standing up in the morning, hale and hearty, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound, and that evening being in the hospital, totally, completely paralyzed. Not an automobile accident, not a spinal injury. It's my story. It was a rare disease, which I never heard of the day before, which took over my body and rendered me a quadriplegic. Now, quadriplegic means I'm paralyzed from the neck down. All I could do was blink my eyes to communicate. I was 144 days in the hospital. I was 2 years in a hospital bed in my own home. I couldn't turn over by myself. 4 years in a wheelchair. I had braces on both my legs, my hips, my ankles, and that was progress. Thank God today I'm able to be vertical and ambulatory with the help of a 7-foot walking wand, but I still can't walk up a stair by myself. I can't walk up a curb by myself. And I've helped 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. But you hear my voice. Positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant, all because of one word. Smile. Seeing miracles in life every day. I'm sorry, I got to tell you a quick story though. My 8-year-old niece comes over to me a few weeks ago and she says, Uncle Barry, can we spell smile S-M-I-E-L? And I thought about it. Smile, smile sounds the same. Why not? I asked her, how come? She says, because then it would stand for seeing miracles in everyday life. Out of the mouth of babes. Isn't that wonderful? But what was she doing? She was creating the kind of world that she wants to live in. Now, CREATE is a wonderful acronym that stands for causing rethinking, enabling all to excel. Rethinking, neuro linguistic programming. You are in control of your thoughts. And when we talk today with our amazing guest, Noah benShea, we're going to talk about thinking and expansion of thought and opening up your whole being to the possibilities of life. In the meantime, I want you to understand the 6 most important words you have to internalize, utilize, and leverage in your life. And these 6 words are choice, not chance, determines your destiny. Choice, not chance, determines your destiny. Now, I do want to warn you in advance, and I'm warning our amazing guest, Noah, that I do use a lot of 4-letter words. I even use the 4-letter FU word, and I do it for the shock value, and it's fun. Now, the 4-letter words that we use, because we live in the world of the positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant, are love, life, hope, grow, free, play, pray, swim, surf, sage, 4-letter words. And the 4-letter FU word is fun. Fun, yes, F-U, capital N. I know right away people are raising their hands and say, hey, Barry, sure, fun's only spelled with 3 letters. Not in our world. The world of the positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant. Fun is spelled F-U, capital N, capital N. So after the show, when you see your family and friends, you have a twinkle in your eye and a smile on your face. Remember that stands for. Point your finger and tell everybody, F-U. Remember to add right away, capital N, capital N. I said, where'd you get that? I said, I listened to Barry Shore and the Joy of Living. He wants to teach the world to F-U. Capital N, capital N. Now, before we bring on amazing Noah benShea, who is really going to open you up and fill you with joy and happiness, peace and light and life and love, I want to urge everybody to use the 2 most important words in the English language 3 times a day from now and the rest of your life. The 2 most powerful, important words in the English language are thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank stands for to harmonize and network kindness. To harmonize and network kindness. I've heard from the Dalai Lama, actually, YouTube. I've read in his writings, he says, be kind whenever possible. And he says, it's always possible. So imagine you go into the coffee shop, you order your fancy latte, you sit down, somebody brings it to you, you say, thank you. You walk into the coffee shop, you order a fancy latte, a couple of minutes goes by, nobody brings it, you go to the counter and say, oh, I'm sorry, we forgot. We're so busy, we'll bring it. And you go sit down, a couple more minutes go, you still say, thank you. You're walking out of the coffee shop, somebody holds the door open for you. You say, thank you. You're walking out of the coffee shop, it's raining out, and somebody slams the door on you. You say, thank you. You're in traffic, you're late for an appointment, somebody cuts you off, and you say, thank you. You get up in the middle of the night, and you stub your toe and it hurts. You say, thank you. To harmonize and network kindness. KIND is a wonderful, amazing acronym that stands for keep inspiring noble deeds. I can't think of anybody that inspires noble deeds that I want to share with you than amazing, wonderful, fabulous Noah benShea. Noah, please let everybody see you and say a huge hello to
Hello.
358,722 people around the world. That was the answer to one hand clapping, one hand thanking the world.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Oh, that was so wonderful. So first of all, it's such a delight and a pleasure. And I say delight in the fullest sense, because that's what Noah benShea is all about. Light, that's what he does. He brings light to a world that oftentimes seems dark, depressed, filled with stress and anxiety. And we're going to talk about that because Noah has 3, how should we say it, accolades that he goes by. If you ask anybody, ask Noah benShea, you say, who is he? Well, he's an author, he's a poet, he's a philosopher. And the most important for me is that he lives each one of those. He lives his writings. He lives his poetry. He doesn't just talk about philosophy. He is the embodiment of what he wants to talk about. So we're going to discuss three major big issues in life. And by the way, if I started telling you all the wonderful things about Noah benShea and his CV, it would take the rest of the show. So what I'm going to do is I urge everybody to just go to my site, www.whatawonderfulworld.barryshore.com, BARRYSHOR. Everything about Noah will be there. I mean, there's lots of stuff about Noah to be there. So go to the website. You don't have to write anything down. What I want you to do is just enjoy the process of having this amazing sage with us today and let everything flow in and around you. Is that fair enough, Floa? You like that?
You know, the Talmud teaches us that you shouldn't say everything good about a person while you're in their company. Right. So as flattered as I am by this introduction, I can't help but think how much more might have been said about me if I had the wisdom not to be here today.
If you weren't, right. So and I would be talking for much more and really doing stuff. I'm going to layer in some quotes from people like Larry King and the head of Starbucks a little later, but let's just jump right to issues that are touching the world. Let's be blunt. I don't know if you're watching this right now. We're in the year 2022. That's what most of the world calls it. Now, you might be watching this, listening to this a century from now and still say, wow, I want to hear Barry Shore, Noah benShea. Okay, that's great. But understand that at this particular point in time, there is a wave of, I will almost call it despair in the world, Noah. And one of the things that I'm so happy that we're going to be talking about, three big things. We're going to talk about hope. We're going to talk about caring. And we're going to talk about faith. So let's just jump right in at the one that makes all the difference. Hope.
Yeah, I think now that clearly the most common planetary passport is anxiety. And the Buddha has a teaching that guilt won't change the past and anxiety won't improve the future. My feeling for a long time has been that hope is prayer with wings, and that from hope you have the capacity to come to faith, but that the springboard to it is hope. And I just can't. It would be hard for me to imagine a life without hope. And if you meet somebody whose life is absent of hope, their sadness is visceral. And the effort to try and connect with people is sometimes to remind people that even when they find their lives absent of hope or in a darkness of will, that you can see a light in them. And when you can see that light, you become a light. And when you see the light in others or remind them that you can see a light in others, your world becomes brighter. It just works that way. For a long time, I felt, here we are, where so many people talk about the contagions that are out there with COVID and whatever is the contagion of the month to some extent. But my feeling is that nothing is as contagious as hope, and nothing is as contagious as caring. And that is the infection of choice, if you would.
Let's unpack this, because you're delivering so much wonderful information. Wonderful, by the way, is spelled ONEDERFUL, wonderful. Hope in our vocabulary, because I work with acronyms and words all day long, and that's my life, stands for helping others progress every day. And the way that you said it can be done in the most simplest way, which is to recognize the light in the other being. Because by doing that, you're touching the essence of you. You see, you're becoming.
Yeah, absolutely. If people for a long time, it's been very clear that that only people who love themselves can be loving of others. Only people who can be caring of themselves can be caring of others. Only people who are good company to themselves can be good company to others. So if you don't witness the light in your life, if it's hard, it's very hard to witness it in others. That doesn't mean that the light has gone out in others. It means that the light in you has so dimmed that you can't perceive it in yourself. So again, to be a candle, light a candle, if you will. And one of the things that's interesting is that one of the things that's been interesting, sometimes you hear things and then you don't know what you know until you know it. And on the top of every ark in every synagogue, and is bored into every church, really, when you go in there now, is there what in Hebrew is called the Ner Tamid, the eternal light. And what's so important about that is the recognition that it isn't like a sometimes light. It's it's an eternal light. It's not like the occasional light. It is the night light. They used to be that when you're a kid, or even now as you are younger than you are currently young, when you get up in the nighttime, you have a night light in the bathroom so you don't bang yourself and say thank you too loudly to yourself, but that you need that night light. So I think to remember that the light that you leave on the porch for you to come home to yourself will allow you to see the light in others. I'm sort of looking up as I'm saying this because I'm thinking out loud, doing it. And for me, you're right. This is an occupational hazard that I used to have a photographic memory. I still do, except I don't have same day developing anymore. I remind myself, but I do think that between here and here is where my manufacturing plant, and so I'm trying to connect in with that with you this morning.
But if you're only listening to this, the here and here was between his HEAR and HEAR, meaning his ears. So he was pointing to the fact that, yes, what exists between our ears is that which enables us to, as you say, regard the light in others and recognize that it's an eternal light. Not a
it isn't, there's a story I told myself about a woman who comes to see my character in my book is Jacob in the Jacob the Baker series of books that I've written. And she says, Jacob, it's so dark out at night. All I can see are the stars. So he said, well, you then have reason to have hope. She said, why? He said, because it is the darkness that makes the stars brighter. So let us remember that it isn't that life is absent of darkness. It is that the darkness in life, the darkness in the night sky will make the stars of hope brighter yet.
Let's talk about the stars of hope. I want to just throw in a couple of things that I think you might like. I'm thinking about what you just said, the eternal light. And if you put in the letter X, which stands for the exuberance of life, you now also have the external light.
So let me riff with you on that for a second, Barry.
By the way, I love it. He says he's a jazz man. He knows what we're talking about. Yeah.
Let's just riff on this. Yes. That the external light is an internal light, and it is an eternal light. Right. So it's an external light, is an internal light, is an eternal light. That is that it's as it is within, it is outside of you as well as it is around you. So that is, you don't exit from this light into the darkness. You exit from this light in this lifetime into the Ner Tamid, into the eternal light.
Woo! Now, we're not rushing to get there, but as long as you're living every moment in that process, then you recognize that the light that you have now, which is wonderful and loving and encompassing, is even brighter and more. By the way, that's a law. I love that. You might like this one also to riff on, wonderful Noah, is that law. When people hear that word, they tend to close up. because they think of, the spinning wheel on the police car and that. But law stands for love and wisdom. That's the law that wonderful Noah benShea is talking about right now, right?
So if you examine this for the moment, not from the point of, if you asked when you said that Noah is this author, poet, philosopher, the philosopher might say things to you that you hold as metaphysically interesting, but where do they have reality? Let's borrow from one of the minor minds of all time, Albert Einstein, who said to us that energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only change form. So it isn't that you're here and then gone. It's here and that you're here and you're here and you're here. But I raised this, Barry, to this point. I was at a memorial service for a child who died too young, and the children in this family were very trying to deal with this. And one of them asked me, "Do you believe in reincarnation, Noah?" And I said, "I do. I just don't think you have to die to be reincarnated."
Wait a minute. I want you to, first of all, if you're not watching and you're listening, there's a big smile on his face, and myself as well, because the internal light is now externalized. And I want him to repeat that line because it's so cool. If you think about reincarnation and anybody asks you about it, what did you say, Noah?
Someone asked me once if I believe in reincarnation, and I said, I do. I just don't think you have to die to be reincarnated. So that it allows you to recognize that who you are in this moment is not who you were in the previous moment, because it's impossible, because physicists remind us time only moves forward. It doesn't go backward. So if you doubt this for a second, ask yourself this about how the world spins. The next time you take a bath, pull out the plug and watch how the water always gurgles down the drain in one way. So I said, why doesn't it go down the other way? Because the earth is spinning forward. To this point, let me say this. We live on a little blue ball. I know I'm off here riffing, having a good time because you have a contagious light and spirit, Barry. We live on a little blue ball spinning at 1,060 miles an hour. That you don't know it's spinning at 1,060 miles an hour has nothing to do with the fact of the matter. If you doubt it for a second, the equator has 24,000 miles. In 24 hours, you have to be turned around one revolution of the earth. You could not be going less than 1,000 miles an hour. So if we were standing on a little blue ball spinning at 1,060 miles an hour, do you ever doubt for a moment that at some moment in your life, you will lose your balance? That's what this life business is about losing your balance and finding your balance, and the dignity in not only losing your balance and realizing that that is what connects you to all other people. That is the shared vulnerability of losing our balance and the shared opportunity of refinding our balance. So it isn't like something people think, oh, children have their terrible twos, their awful fours. Trust me, my friends, you will have your awful 18s, your terrible 27s. I'm not so certain 39s. Oh, am I going there again? 49s. Oh, it's this at 62. And oh, and this, where am I going at 77? You're on a planet spinning at 1,060 miles an hour. Losing your balance and finding your balance is never mission accomplished. It's always a work in process. You are in process.
We love that. And he shares willingly with a big smile, and the light is beaming forth throughout the world right now. Now, I got to tell you one thing, and then we're going to go to a quick break because we have sponsors that love us and love what we're talking about. And it's so you, wonderful Noah. But I want to share with you the word that you said about sharing. Share stands for spreading happiness and rejuvenating. Spreading happiness, rejuvenating. We'll be right back after this brief message from our amazing sponsors. You want to listen, you want to use it because it's great stuff. Be right back after this brief message. Good day, everyone. Barry Short here. So happy to be discussing with you today a plant-based, high-quality, protein, organic superfood called Organifi. 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 I use it. I ordered it. I sought them out. I'm so glad to be urging everybody to try and use this remarkable high quality food product. The story is two people, two wonderful people, Drew and Jamal, who in 2014 joined forces together to find the best possible high quality superfood blends. Took them 52 different tries before they got it right. And I'm telling you, they hit on something that is revolutionizing the world. Your world, your health. This is the best, the most powerful, positive, purposeful, pleasant, high quality superfood you could ever have. That's a simple it. You know, I swim 2 miles a day, every single 6 days a week. I use this to restore and regenerate my being, and I feel better for it. You can't go wrong. You must find your way to the website and order, use this product. I want you to go to Organifi, Organifi.com, Organifi.com. And when you go there, you're going to put in the code LIVING, capital LIVING, living, and you're going to get 20% off your first order. This is stuff that you're going to want to have for you, your family. You're going to tell your friends, everybody, this is health. This is good health. This is great health. Organifi.com. Please go there. You'll thank me for it. You'll be jumping up and down and telling the world. Go to Organifi.com, put in the code LIVING, capital L, capital I, VING, and get 20% off. And I look forward to getting many, many comments and emails from you saying, thank you, Barry Shore. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved immortal beings, and good-looking people. Remember, you're good-looking. You're always looking for and finding the good. We have good in abundance. Our cup runneth over with good. Happens to be a two-legged being, an eternal light being, an external light being, a harmony being. His name is Noah benShea. I'm going to emphasize the Noah part at the moment again, because we're talking about the world. And we're talking about a flood, an FLOOD, of stuff that's happening to people and they don't even recognize, and they're trying to push aside, as you mentioned, anxiety and stress and disconnect. I call that sad, are the real issues that we're dealing with today. And the contagion that we are spreading is that of joy, happiness, peace, and love. The other contagions are being talked about all the time. So the key is using your thoughts, your words, and your deeds, Noah, to make sure that the flood does not encompass you. So that's who you are. You are living your namesake, sir. So how do we do it? How are you building your ark, not just for yourself, but to include all beings to be saved?
But let me a couple of thoughts. One, yes, thank you. The name Noah in Hebrew means to comfort, because Noah gave comfort to a world in the flood. But let me share this. In every, I'm going to go backward for a second and then I'll move forward. If you looked in the pocket of an 18th century Frenchman who was wealthy, you would see two watches. And the reason you would see two watches was because watches were inclined to run down. And so when one watch ran down, he would use the other watch to reset it. In this lifetime, we will all have a moment when we will run down, and we will need to stop and be rewound by the person next to us who will help us catch again. In this lifetime, there are the inevitable sadnesses, the floods of despair. It's losing a parent, losing a child, losing your job, losing your way, losing your health. And when those things happen, we have the opportunity and the need to retreat from life into an ark so that we can survive that moment emotionally. But I asked myself a while back, why does God tell Noah to put a window in the top of the ark? Noah doesn't need a window to know that it's raining, that's for sure. He needs a window to know when the rain has stopped. So there will come a time in your life when you will need to step back from life, recede from life, go into your own emotional despair, And you have that right in your lifetime because you have that despair in your life. But it is important to know and to remind those who forget, if you are a friend to someone, to let them look up and see when the rain has stopped, and let them know that it is time for them to come out of their despair and to re-enter the world, the same way as when Noah finally saw the dove came back one time with a leaf and he knew the flood was receding. The second time he sent it out, the dove didn't come back, and he knew the dove had found a place to land. There is a place to land in life, my friends, outside of the despair that we need to retreat in, and you have a right to retreat in. And I tell people sometimes when they say, Noah, you're right, God never gives us more than we can bear. And I'm saying, do not say that so quickly, because I do not want anybody to feel that I can presume what they can bear. Sometimes life does give us more than we can bear. And we have to understand is to be a friend to someone who feels when they are suffering more than they can bear, and give them the right to be in that state of suffering. All pain is private, just the same way as all heroism is a private matter. People run up a hill under gunfire, but the real heroism in life is the woman who at 11 o'clock in the morning doesn't reach for the vodka bottle in the closet. It's the man who's on a business trip at 11 o'clock at night and passes on the opportunity from the woman who's going to give her room key, or the kid who's 10 years old who at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, when the other kids are threatening him to calling him a pussy if he doesn't climb up some tower, decides he will pass on it. The real heroism in life is private. The pain in life is private. Honor that privacy. Honor the isolation that's in each person's life, because you know that nobody else knows what you're thinking in this moment. When you understand that, then you understand that we are all alone together.
I have 3 words to say to you. I love you. Let me throw in here a couple of quotes. This one is from a fellow named, well, it doesn't matter. It's from a book, interesting book. Gentle Wisdom for a Complicated World. It's a book that I recommend to everybody. It's a book that will be of benefit, will help heal, whatever. Everybody needs some healing. Gentle Wisdom for a Complicated World comes from a book called Jacob the Baker. We might talk about it in more detail, but I want to also mention there was a man who has gone on to another light. His name was Larry King. He was the king of talk radio, or not talk radio, of talk in America on CNN for decades. It was only the best were with Larry King. And he has this great quote that I love about Noah benShea. I'm going to embarrass him, but hey, why not? Noah benShea and his Jacob the Baker, again, a book I recommend to everybody, are together a compass, because he has, with wisdom, compassion, and humor, helped so many to find their way. Now, here's the money quote. He is like a Zen Mark Twain. How much fun is that? Okay, Mr. Z, Mr. Zen Mark Twain, because Mark Twain was so filled with humor that cut right through into the being to allow you to express who you are. I love this idea that all pain is private, all heroism is private, because we are all alone together. I'm just going to share with you one thing. The word alone, most people unfortunately mispronounce it. Now, you know this because you're who you are, but you didn't want to just expose it, so I'll expose it for you. The real way to pronounce that word, A-L-O-N-E, is all one. We are all one together.
Okay, now I'm gonna play the jazz musician with you for again.
Woo!
When we think of the word atonement, which is like being healed, you have sought and received the atonement from God. Atonement is at one moment, right? You were at one in the moment with. So that is what we are trying to come to, because the despair that we feel is the disconnect. When we're in a state of disconnect, we feel ourselves as vulnerable. When we feel vulnerable, we go to anger, and anger burns down a man's own house and the man in the house. So I suggest just like that at one mint is the real issue. There's a line in one of my Jacob the Bear books and says, how high could Moses climb? Moses climbed to the number one. And what did he do then? He came down, right? They say that's what really was important is that when Moses had this moment with God, he then like he has two choices. He can wander off like a lot of people who think they've seen the light and wander off like a mad person through the desert, like or you could come down the mountain. But what the words say in the Bible is that when Moses came down the mountain, the light on his face became less because he couldn't come back down feeling elevated to be as the divine. The light on his face became less. Now it's interesting. So the word for light in Hebrew is the same way as Orim, but people misconstrued it who didn't know the Hebrew as horns. So they had Moses with horns because they saw he came down with the light, but it says he had to come down with humility. So why do I say this? If I take the very kind words you said and the kind words of others, but if I have something to say to others, it requires that the light in my face has to be less, because Aristotle said that honesty is the portal to all wisdom. Aristotle, very bright guy by any standards. But if Aristotle said that honesty is the portal to all wisdom, Noah benShea and Jacob the Baker says that humility is the portal to all honesty. Because until you can aware that you know less, you cannot know more. Until you release your breath, you cannot take a breath. That's the way it works.
That's the way it works.
Let me share this with you, Barry, because we'll just our friend Sean Thompson in the book that Sean and I did.
We're going to talk about
that. I want to say he said he couldn't wait for this conversation with the two of us because he thought it was. Let me share an idea I've had for a while. When the first person was created in the Bible, now let's just say, when you say about the Bible, we're talking about the Abrahamic religion. So this is the Bible of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. So we're not like talking about one small cadre of people on this planet. It says in the first that God blew into the red earth. Word for red in Hebrew is Adam. That's why the first man is named Adam. He blew into the red earth. So, and he inspired, to be inspired means to be filled with breath. So the first person was inspired with the breath of God. But how long could Adam hold his breath? So when he released his breath, Eve picked up his breath. And how long could Eve hold her breath? When Eve picked her breath, she released her breath, so the others around. So the way it works is the very first breath of God in the very first person has been passed from person to person to person. So while we think conspiring now means something in the pejorative, playing in a crime, it really means breathing together. So we are all conspiring because we are all inspired, because the very first breath that came into the very first person has been passed from person to person. So we are in a shared inspiration. Know that about your life, and know that to remind somebody who feels diminished about their life, to remind them that they are inspired. That's an act of compassion, and compassion comes from the Latin meaning with passion. Compassion is to be passionately caring.
And we are now, people are leaning in and they're writing feverishly. I urge you again, don't write, just listen. You can hear it again and again, because this is coming directly from an inspired being who knows how to breathe. And breathing is one of the most important things that anybody can do in life, especially if you do it consciously and conscientiously, is what I discuss a lot. We don't have a lot of time on this particular round, but let's dive into, or surf actually, this book that you just brought out with, again, our mutual friend, Sean Thompson, who in his own right is quite a remarkable, wonderful fellow. And the book is titled The Surfer and the Sage.
Well, I mean, when Sean and I met, Sean is one of the all-time legendary surfers in the history of surfing, and held in the highest regard as an icon, both in surfing and as he and I have a real bromance. going on. But when we were doing it, I suggested that we do a book together. I can assure you, since I've never been on a surfboard in life, it was Sean who suggested it be called The Surfer and the Sage. I'd feel way too self-conscious about that in its own regard. But the subtitle to our book is how to survive and ride life's waves. And the book has been #1 in Amazon, and both in the book and the Audible, we did an Audible, was #2 in Amazon. I think for both of us at this point in time, but I just, the great psychotherapists always say, speak in the first person. So in the first person, at this point in my life, my trading card is to be at the very least to be honest. And so what Sean and I wanted to do was to write something that we thought would make a difference in the lives of people who find themselves in the contagion of anxiety, and we all find ourselves exposed to that contagion at some point. It isn't like you can wear a mask in life and not come down with anxiety. We all have those what I call 3 a.m. truths. That's when you wake up in the middle of the night and you find yourself counting the tiles on the ceiling because you're thinking about something like an illness in a child that you can't solve, or a job that you can't find, or a memory that you have, and even the warmest, even the most wonderful rose that you can remember to memory still has thorns. So at 3 o'clock in the morning, when you're trying to deal with that, this book, is The Surfer and the Sage, I think is a very honest reach, and it seems to be connecting with people in a particular way. It was the 30th book of mine that I've had published, and I feel deeply honored by this work, which I never saw coming. Because
actually, that's even more of why it's so wonderful.
I mean, it's like there are a couple of moments in your life where you think, when people say when I knew I wanted to write, but when I knew I was writing in poetry, and particularly Eastern and Western religious literature was my work. If you're a poet, you're someone who if you're a poet and waiting for the applause, it's like someone who throws rose petals over the Grand Canyon and waiting for the echo. No,
that was too good a line to just not have again. I mean, that was a chord that I went ahead and repeated. It's like what, throwing rose, keep going.
So sometimes you have to clearly. I say to people that sometimes expectation is the easiest way to arrive at despair. And if you're a poet or have some work that you wait for the world to respond to, it's like throwing rose petals into the Grand Canyon and waiting for the echo. There are relationships in life where you could feel that way as well. Waiting for her or him to respond in a certain way. But so when you take that path, but there are things you never witness coming. I could never witness doing this book with Sean, The Surfer and the Sage, or the kind of response. But then I never saw it coming when Starbucks, the chairman of Starbucks, was given a copy of Jacob the Baker by the chairman of Costco, and the chairman of Starbucks gave it to all his senior management. And the next thing I knew is they took a line of mine and put it on 30 million Starbucks coffee cups. Now, I can assure you that when I wanted to be a poet, first of all, there was no Starbucks, there was no coffee shops like this. There wasn't that disposable world. So then they say, well, what was the line that was on there? Because now that line has passed through, and the line is this, and it's, I share this with you. Do not kiss your children, so they will kiss you back, but so they will kiss their children and their children's children. There's something that we're just posting up this morning, that grandchildren are the best way to hold hands with forever.
Wait a minute. That's another great line.
Thank you.
Grandchildren is the best way to hold hands with forever.
Mm-hmm.
Hello.
Right. Do not kiss your children, so they will kiss you back, but so they will kiss their children and their children's children. Play it forward. I remind people, in this lifetime, everything we do is a reciprocal trade agreement. I give you money, you get gas, I get this, except for two things. teaching and parenting. In teaching and parenting, what you get is the right to give.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The joy of living, which is this podcast, is summed up in one word. You want to have joy in living? Giving. You're in service. We are in service. By the way, you are a madman, and both of you, you and Sean, are both madmen, because MAD is that acronym that stands for make a difference.
Jacob the baker says, of all the things you can make in life, Noah benShea and Jacob the baker, I have to borrow from myself sometimes. I'm reminded, my friends, if you're listening to this, I ask this to take to heart. Of all the things you can make in life, why not make a difference?
Are we not simpatico?
Yes, and the gestalt that 1 and 1 is 1.
And by the way, one in this case is spelled O-N-E and W-O-N. So it's because that's how you win at life. I mean, the essence of what we're having here with Noah benShea and Barry Shore is right. It's jazz, man. It is full on beautiful, wonderful, inspiring, eternal light jazz.
You know, Jacob Baker says it's the silence between the notes that makes the music.
That's right.
So, and the Taoists remind us that those who know do not say, and those who say do not know. So you have to remember which way you are on this issue. And to borrow, since you said it was referred to as the Zen Mark Twain, that Mark Twain said the good thing about kids is they tell you what they know and then they stop.
Wait a minute, did you hear that laugh? Because that's what happens when you hear truth. You say,
you know,
okay. Jacob the baker, AKA Noah benShea, AKA the sage, AKA, I'm hoping to say this, my friend. I have 3 questions for you. Are you ready?
Yes.
First question, will you come back again?
Yes.
Second question.
Did you mean on your show, or did you mean was I going to return in another reincarnation?
Yes. I want you in another.
I want you to say yes.
On the
Yes.
show. On the show.
When you ask me about come back again, I say yes.
Right.
I've told my children there's 3 words. There's 3 words for soul in Hebrew. One of them is ruach, wind, because God blew into the first. So I said, one day when I'm not here, you'll feel the wind in your face and say, "Oh, there's Dad."
Right.
I'll come back. I'll come back again. Yes.
Thank you. Second question. You have only 80 seconds to answer this one. What is your most fervent desire?
Many years ago, I was reading a prayer book, and it says in Hebrew, you ask for shalom uvracha, peace and blessings. So I asked myself, why does it say peace and blessings? You would think that if you had a blessing, that's as good as it gets in life. And then I realized that any peace you find in life is its own blessing. And any blessing that does not bring you peace is no blessing. My most fervent desire in the moments that I have on this earth are to be at peace with who I am in this moment.
And the third question, may I give you a hug in front of 362,838 people around the world?
Sometimes, says Jacob the baker and Noah benShea, the best way to get warm when you're cold is to wrap. The best way to get warm is to wrap your arms around someone who is cold.
Well, in this case, we got 2 hot ones, baby. Well, with hundreds of thousands of people going to join, let me tell you what HUG stands for. Heartfelt, unlimited giving. I
would respond to you with this addition, my friend, that the last letter in HUG is gratitude.
Heartfelt, unlimited gratitude. Here we go on the count of 3.
Yes, because in gratitude, there are miracles. And this moment Questo momento è certamente un miracolo. I spend time, I speak Italian. So this moment is a miracle. Why is it a miracle? Because nella gratitudine ci miracoli. Because in gratitude, there are miracles. In gratitude for this moment, Barry, thank you for the invite. Let's do it again.
Wow. Okay, here's our hug. 1, 2, 3. The joy of living with your humble host, Barry Shore, and our amazing, wonderful guest, Noah benShea. And you're listening to this show for one reason only. Remember, not about Barry Shore. It's not even about Noah, as great as they are. It's about you. Y-O-U. You becoming the best you possible, because when you're the best you make the world a better place. You build more bridges of joy, happiness, peace, and love.
For each of you, I say, may you go, chazak, v'ni chazak in Hebrew, may you go from strength to strength and be a source of strength to others.
Woo! How's that for blessings, kids? Because you live the 3 fundamentals of life. Life has purpose, like Noah benShea's been telling us, sharing with us. And the second thing is your life with purpose. You go mad, you make a difference in the world. Do it in private. You make a difference in the world. Unlock the power and the secrets of everyday words and terms, such as www, what a wonderful world. Smile, seeing miracles in life every day. As my 8-year-old niece says, seeing miracles in everyday life. Create the kind of world you want to live in. Noah just gave you some wonderful directions, causing rethinking, enabling all to excel. Use the 2 most powerful words in the English language 3 times a day, consciously and conscientiously. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And use 4-letter words: love, life, hope, grow, free, play, pray, surf, sage. And tell the world to F you. Capital N, capital N. When you do that, you bring more peace and harmony to the world. And a blessing from wonderful Jacob, AKA Noah, and Barry. It is, go forth. Live exuberantly. Spread the seeds of joy, happiness, peace, and love. Go mad. Go make a difference.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Joy of Living podcast. Now that's another step towards your healthier, happier, and wealthier life. Never hesitate to do good in the world, no matter what the situation. Join us for another upbeat discussion next time at barryshore.com. And be sure to leave a rating and subscribe to the show to get more conversations like this. And remember to share it with your family and friends too. See you on the next episode.